So I think he'll get away with that because he wasn't over it. It was nice of Jensen just to leave him that little bit more space. I think Jensen knew he was going to take advantage of hopefully the DRS in the lap if Ricciardo's passed him by the line and he can get it.
Watching now, all on his own really on the track, except the red menace of his teammate looming ever larger in his wing mirrors. Kimi Raikkonen. Kimi Raikkonen, who won the first ever race in Istanbul at Istanbul Park, and hasn't finished higher than 6th at a new track since then. In his first outing at a new track, and is currently running in 2nd place. And it's a good little scrap between Vettel and Raikkonen, both of whom, Paul, have 83 career podiums. So one will want to nudge ahead of the other and kind of claim bragging rights down at Ferrari.
I would say on this day that Vettel's going to do it. Perez looking very comfortable for a podium. Hamilton unable to challenge him. Middle sector for Hamilton's just not as strong as the Force India. We know that new rear wing that Mercedes have got in the car, really slippery on a straight line and giving them the top speed. On board with Hülkenberg again, he's going to be making a challenge.
Carlos Sainz this time is the man in front. And how much longer is Carlos Sainz going to be in front for? He gets very close with his front wing, doesn't he? As he pulls out of the slipstream. And up into 8th place now goes Nico Hülkenberg. So slicing his way through the field. The next one is a bit further up the road, and it's Valtteri Bottas, and he might be a bit harder to overtake, as well as Jenson Button comes into the pits, and Felipe Nasser at the same time. That is Button's 2nd pit stop in this race. He rather hinted before the race, Paul, didn't he, that it might be more than a one-stop race for him and for McLaren. That's certainly the way it's proving to be.
There's no historical data. There's nothing to tell them what was going to happen here. This track's starting to cool off, so that'll be helping everyone out. But it's really just to see the guys pushing. As the guys with the pressure on them, I think are going to struggle more. If you can just run the pace you need to, which I think Rosberg's doing at the moment. He's just managing the gap to Vettel. He knows he's got a 20-second cushion. That's more than enough when you're on lap 26 of a 51-lap Grand Prix.
So we're past half race distance. And when you're in a street track, Paul, and you've raced on street tracks in your time, at what point do you start to get a little bit fatigued mentally or physically? Because it's not like a normal racetrack, is it?
He'll not be switching off. The moment you switch off, you're inches, centimetres away from making a mistake. And we saw him hit the wall in his best lap yesterday in qualifying, which could have been really risky.
D-rates everywhere. I'm sure that's not helping. Is there no solution for this?
We are working on it, Lewis.
You guys need to pick up the pace.
So he's talking about day rate, so he's not getting the kinetic energy, the MGUH or whatever, you know, that power that just ramps up the engine and the turbo. It's not working, so obviously that's maybe why we've seen him not been able to attack Perez in front. Just watching Ricciardo.
On Sainz once again, we saw Hülkenberg pass Sainz on the previous lap. A great shot that is, as the cars blast past, and a bit of brake dust coming off the Red Bull there as it goes into turn 1. But he's passed him anyway, and he managed to bring the car to a stop. And here's Fernando Alonso on Esteban Gutierrez down towards turn 3. Alonso up into 16th place. Ricciardo on Sainz swapping 9th place, and there's a bit of brake dust there as well. The carbon fibre, a bit of carbon, I should say, coming off the brakes. But Paul, back to D rates.
Yeah, just gone back to it, so it's not a consistent power. So he's obviously getting intermittent doses of power. But the cleaner it is, the even you've got.
Well, his last lap was a 1:49.0. The man in front of him, Sergio Perez, with a 1:48.1. Meanwhile, Sebastian Vettel gaining, as you can see, on Kimi Raikkonen, and was half a second faster on his last lap, and is now within DRS range. So what do Ferrari do here? Do they swap it over? Do they say
quicker that last lap, so he's not going to get DRS off him? I wonder if Kimi is just going to stretch this out. Maybe Ferrari feel they've got the life in the tyre just to be able to go on. Now, they can obviously Massa in the pits. Definitely a 2-stop then for him. They've got all the data to say when the tyre compound will start to switch off, and that is all based on temperature. You know, they've got special sensors on the floors, on the wings that tell them that. And maybe they just feel at this point in the Grand Prix they'll be able to do it. But I would think Perez will be all over the back of Raikkonen soon, if it is. But then the other thing that Ferrari have got...
Correct me if I'm wrong, Kimi hasn't served the long pit stop yet, has he? the 5 second?
No, not the 5 second penalty, no.
Okay, so Ferrari know that his race is going to be compromised anyway, so it did make sense to swap them. I am a bit surprised, like you, they didn't do it any sooner, given that he's going to have a long pit stop next time round. I'm just keeping across Hamilton's ERS problem and the hybrid problem with the hybrid system. No word from Mercedes on whether it's closer to being fixed. He is losing most of the time in that long last sector, isn't he? So it seems that seems it's affecting him on that long straight most of all.
And that is what happens when you swap the drivers round. Sebastian Vettel increases his pace, and he does push on and sets a new fastest lap of the race, and he's 2.3 seconds ahead of his teammate. Now, seconds, and Sergio Perez would be picking up yet another podium in Formula One, and is 7th, and what would be a second in 3 races if the race stopped now. But there's 21 laps to go, Paul. Anything can happen.
Always. Keeps you on the edge of your seat, aren't you?
Well, I'm sitting back on my seat, but I think I start to lose temperature.
Yeah, they do. I'm just watching the Ferrari mechanics. They seem to be having a lot of discussion between them. All sat in a crowd. Is that on board with Button?
It is.
Into Palmer, into turn 1.
Was that one of the easier overtaking moves of Jenson Button's career?
I'm not really sure how much you can defend here. It looks like the DRS is very powerful, and once you're committed, you definitely can't squeeze them all the way to the inside, because you've got to think about the 90, because it's all 90-degree corners, they're so wide. The exit's so important.
I mean, we saw earlier Danny Kvyat, I think it was, positioning towards the inside to defend. Is that the best way? If there is a possibility of defending, make someone go the long way round to turn 1.
Always make somebody go the long way. Make it as difficult as you can. You're a racing driver. It's in your blood. Never give up a position, and more for yourself. But if the team don't see you doing what your responsibilities are, and that's doing the best job possible, they'll see that you've lost your fire and commitment, and they want to see you fight right to the very last corner of the last lap.
So 21 still running. Jolyon Palmer down now in 14th place. Behind him, Pascal Wehrlein has finally stopped, and Wehrlein came in and stopped on lap 29 for a one-stop strategy. And we're just seeing there Carlos Sainz on Jolyon Palmer, and Sainz moves himself up into 14th place.
Can I not reset this thing?
Okay, Lewis, so the problem appears to be with the current mode that you're in.
I don't know what you mean, man. I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah, copy that, Lewis. Hard to say what it is.
Yeah, because they just can't, Paul, say what it is now, because the ban kind of prohibits any expert technical help.
Yeah, they're not allowed to say it now. They're obviously saying it's an obvious mode. Is that an engine mode of some sort?
Yes, it was the mode that you're in. So the inference is change it, but we can't tell you what to change it to. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, if you've got our Sky Interactive service, then have a look. If you can find the Hamilton onboard, which I think is on offer, have a look. You'll see lots of warning signs on. It is on offer. So, oh, Crofty.
Yeah, we're just seeing a replay now.
Okay.
Pascal Wehrlein forcing by defending Marcus Ericsson off the track a little bit. We didn't really leave him a car's width, but I don't really think he had a car's width to try and leave him there. Wehrlein is now behind Marcus Ericsson, and Esteban Gutierrez isn't right in between them. He's down in 20th there, is Wehrlein. Ted, sorry.
Yeah, okay, so lots of different, very high workload for Lewis Hamilton to do. He's having to switch all kind of things on his dashboard. He's losing a lot of time. He had a 1:49, a very slow lap, a lap ago. It's now gone to a 1:48.9, so a little bit better, losing 4/10, now half a second on the straight. Hamilton is to Rosberg in a healthy Mercedes, so that just sums up what the problem is. A D rate is lower than maximum electrical deployment. So it is, as we say, a problem with the hybrid system, the energy recovery system, and it's going to take all of Hamilton's wit and skill to sort this out in the car. Doesn't look great at the moment, I have to say.
That was nearly 2 corners off that Force India. That was as close as you're ever going to get through there. I guess we're going to see a replay of that.
You know, as I was settling into the back of my seat there, that just got me right to the edge and on my feet again, and almost covering my eyes, because that was very close for Sergio Perez. Hamilton with lots and lots of warning lights on his dashboard, but he's still running. Carlos Sainz, another Toro Rosso. Looks like a double retirement here for Toro Rosso, and he has gone off the track.
Okay, I have a problem in the suspension or something.
Is he saying a loose connection? Is Toro Rosso?
Suspension.
Oh,
suspension. I wonder if that's the same as both cars. Why would they be having issues here? Is that down to turn 8 jumping over the curbs?
Yeah, or just bumps on the track, I don't know. But locked up there, Paul.
Oh, something's failed. Definitely something's failed.
And luckily for him, failed at a part of the track where he could just kind of run off and into the runoff area and keep himself out of trouble. Sainz is expected to be signed up and snapped up by Toro Rosso for next season within a matter of days. He's out of this race. We've got 20 now running, but yellow flags waved, no safety car, and onwards we go. As we were saying this a few laps ago, go back to Sergio Perez, you just can't switch off here, can you?
No, you can't, and he's driving quite risky. I think he's in a podium position. I think if he just gets this one home, I think he's looking very comfortable to secure another one.
Well, he's gaining on Kimi Raikkonen. He's 3 seconds behind him at the end of the last lap. And I think, crucially for Sergio Perez, Paul, he's not getting any threat from behind, because the car behind is Hamilton, and Hamilton's just having to deal with an emergency situation with his engine.
Yeah, I'm sure Lewis is flicking through everything possible. What he doesn't want to do is switch something off if he goes right into the boundaries of it, right into the database. But that's where I think the radio ban's too much at the moment. You know, we're seeing a race compromised. That's a show to the fans. I think they owe it to the fans to try and get it turned on.
This is ridiculous, guys. I don't know. Looking at my freaking dash every 5 seconds, trying to find a switch that's in the wrong position. I haven't changed anything or done something any wrong, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, Lewis, it's nothing that you're doing wrong. You've just got a setting that's incorrect.
In HPP.
I'm afraid I can't say, Lewis.
Well, I might not finish this race because I'm going to try and change everything.
We don't advise that, Lewis.
You see, there's two things, Paul. Your comment that, you know, you don't agree with the radio ban, and that's fair. And I think a lot of people would feel the same way. It's a team sport. Why shouldn't the pit wall help? You have to ask the question as well, though. Isn't it up to the driver to know the settings? Or if they can't memorise them all, are these engines just a little bit too complicated now?
I don't think they're too complicated. You know, definitely not. There's just a lot of switches on the steering wheel and where they are in terms of mode. But Lewis obviously getting very heated and having a lot of discussions. Now the team are making it sound like it's very easy what's happening, but when it's in black and white in front of you, I just hope it's something not too obvious. They could have changed it, because he may... Listen, he's still got 4 or 5 laps, and then he can kind of unleash that while he's driving around at the moment.
And I'm told, Ted, that he's been through all the HPP modes, which what's that? High performance power modes. Nothing to do with HAPPY.
No, that was Pharrell. That's tonight, isn't it?
It could be.
Is he playing there? But yeah, I can just see down the pit lane to the Mercedes pit wall, and they're just sort of discussing it and talking to Ron Meadows, the sporting manager. Why don't you just tell him what it is, and you know, have the consequences? Get a penalty. The silly rule about radio transmission and not being able to tell them things. Just tell him what it is, and then let's take whatever penalty the FA decide to give them.
Let's have a listen.
Can I make suggestions and you say it's okay or not?
No, that's not allowed. Let's just get our heads down and focus on the job.
This is not racing, is it? This is a man trying to battle a computer whilst trying to keep a car on a track. And, you know, as you say, Paul, that isn't a show for the fans.
It's obviously something there, and yeah, the team can obviously see it because they've got the full live telemetry. When you're on board with that, it doesn't sound very free, the engine, does it? It just sounds like it's dragging away. Although the power of these cars is still very impressive when it's not all everything together. Bit of hard work, to be honest.
Yeah, well, his teammate a 1:47.1 for his last lap, and Hamilton a 1:49.3 whilst he tries to battle with the team radio. Hashtag Ask Crofty. We'll talk about this a little bit later on, and obviously in our post-race show and roundup, we'll hear from Rosberg and from Hamilton, the rest of the drivers as well. And Paul, I'm sure you'll have a few things to say about this radio ban, but it does seem, as Ted says, you know, why not just tell him what's wrong and then take the consequences? But the consequences could be quite severe anyway.
I think at some point this year, I believe Manor had instructed one of their cars that something was, they advised them on something and they just got told not to do it again. So where would the stance be? Would it be a bit more of a harder penalty, or would it be you know, an example they've set, they just tell you not to? Obviously everybody's restricted to it. Mercedes are obeying by the rule at the moment, but they obviously feel it's better off just not taking the penalty, because they're probably not under too much threat by Bottas at this present time. Whether we're going to lose points, they maybe change their opinion.
So let's go to this battle. Jenson Button and Fernando Alonso. No team orders at McLaren, I'm sure. Jenson Button, who, as far as we know, hasn't got a contract at McLaren next year. Fernando Alonso, who has got a McLaren contract for next year, and they're getting quite close on the track.
Just see Alonso's tyres looking a lot worse shape than Button at the moment. If you just look at the rear left tyre, the rear right, sorry, if Fernando was sitting in the car, so your rear left, when you're looking at it right down the middle, about 2-inch strip, and it's darker, and that just shows where it's started to grain.
Just ahead of these two is Kevin Magnussen, started from the pit lane, currently running in 11th place. Worth pointing out, Magnussen's only stopped the once, though. Can carry on to the end. Well done, Kevin Magnussen. If he can't, then he's going to lose a heap of places with his second pit stop. McLaren kind of on the verge of the points here. After looking good in Friday practice, not confirming that pace in qualifying, and trying to have a little bit of fun, says Jenson Button, for this afternoon's race. The one man who's probably having the most fun is Nico Rosberg, and he's 15.7 seconds clear of the rest of the field. The one man who's not having much fun is that man there, his teammate Lewis Hamilton. That's where he crashed in qualifying yesterday, where he got too close to the barrier, and it wiped out his front right wheel. Hamilton down in 5th, and between him and his teammate Perez, Raikkonen and Vettel. At the moment, Sebastian Vettel 5.5 seconds clear of Kimi Raikkonen. Just looking now to see what's happened to Sergio Perez. He lost a bit of time, Paul, on the last lap. And Raikkonen getting a very good tow behind Pascal Wehrlein down the main straight, which will help keep him clear of Perez for a little bit longer.
Wonder if Hamilton, it's been since his last pit stop, he's had some issues, hasn't he? Wonder if it's just a case of the start mode being switched on after, because you have to turn the start mode on when you do the pit stop, because effectively it's another launch. You wonder if it's just something as simple as that, but normally you would have a light on your dash to indicate what it is, and obviously we can't see the onboard at the moment to verify that.
And does the start mode kind of override every other mode? And is that the way that works? You're more integrated with the Mercedes steering wheel than I am.
I guess everybody's system would be slightly different, and I can't speak for them. But yeah, it's definitely not going to optimise what it was. And we saw the start mode with Rosberg in Barcelona when he left it on by mistake, and what that was doing. Kimi still trying to stretch this out. I wonder if they're just going to carry on with this. We're now into the 14 laps to go. Maybe Ferrari feeling that they're going to get a double podium out of this.
Well, they're not at the moment, because he's 2.7 seconds clear of Sergio Perez. He's got a 5-second penalty to come, and that's going to be Kimi Raikkonen's problem. And the thing is, I suppose he needs to build a gap, doesn't he, to Hamilton in 5th. So that at the very worst, if he does have to stop again, he's not going to lose more than 1 place. At the moment, he's technically running 4th, Kimi Raikkonen, because of that penalty.
Maybe with Hamilton's problem, that's just the difference between Ferrari being able to stay out and not make that second stop and take the 5-second penalty at the end, as opposed to losing the track position and having to, come back through for the likes of Bottas, Hamilton. They're not going to catch Perez if they box again, that's one thing for sure. No. I think Force India can safely say they've managed to secure that spot. Well,
you lose about 22 seconds, isn't it, I think, for the pit stop time loss here. We're back on board with McLaren. Feels so slow, but we walked this part of the track last night, and it really is so wide, so narrow, I should say, and that hill so steep. You went off to take a couple of pictures. As you make that climb, the sun very much shining straight into the visor. We're now approaching 6:15 in the evening here in Baku.
Yeah, as the sun starts to come down in these kind of evening races we have in Australia, it gets quite hard to see. It can be quite a challenge, but you've got various different tear-offs that you can use. But you would have to start, given the sun was out at the start of the Grand Prix, with a dark one. So hopefully in these shadows you can see in the change in light, not causing the drivers too much of an issue. But Jensen will be seeing Alonso's got some issues with his tyres. He can obviously see on the, just trying to get out of the way so Jensen can't pick up his slipstream. But I think get the sense that Jensen's going to be passing him this time when he picks up DRS.
Here we go then. Jensen Button currently in 13th place, and he has blasted past his teammate Fernando Alonso, but is he clear enough? Going into turn 1, Alonso was expecting the move to come, and now we'll try and fight it back again. Down into turn 2, can't dive down the inside. Button manages to stay ahead, and Button will get DRS again because there's only one detection point here. And of course, going through the one detection point, he was a second behind Fernando Alonso. Massive amount of brake dust coming off the front wheels of that McLaren as he goes into turn 3. But he had DRS for a second opportunity button that keeps him ahead. And you do wonder, the DRS, I'm sure, will be looked at the end of this. Does it need a second detection point for next season? Good move by Jensen Button. He is currently 12th behind Kevin Magnussen, around about 15 seconds behind his former teammate, now of course at Renault. And the battle for third, Sergio Perez is getting ever closer, and actually took around 0.8 of a second out of Raikkonen on the last lap.
Hey, where the f is the full flag?
We are on it, Kimmy. There's nothing we can do with him.
I've been following the whole lap now. So
we're on it with Charlie. We've complained.
All the colourful language of the rainbow coming out of the team radio at the moment. Kimi Raikkonen getting a bit hot under the helmet there.
They need to start having their own beep, don't they, for having these swear words we're hearing at the moment.
Well, it has been noticeable in recent races. Who says these drivers don't have passion, eh, Paul?
You can choose your tone, whatever tone you want. Is that the Sauber pass on Alonso?
Yes. Is that Alonso trying to repass the Sauber? He's trying, but no, it is Marcus Ericsson down in 18th. Felipe Nasser, his teammate, 13th at the moment, and ahead of Fernando Alonso. And we'll watch a replay as to just how he did it under DRS, 8th gear, 220 miles an hour. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, just before the TV people got a bleep machine, drivers used to swear on the radio transmissions so that the message wouldn't get replayed and use it as a tactical thing. But there must be some reason why they're not like that. They're not impolite people, Vettel and Raikkonen. So why is it that they're doing that so much? It's not a good thing, and not a good image for Ferrari as well. That should really be clamped down on. It's not good.
Ted, I've noticed it. It's not just the two Ferrari drivers, but you know, there are others as well, and it's become quite commonplace. And I'm not trying to be a prude or anything, but it is becoming quite commonplace at the moment.
Hardly a good image for Ferrari and Fiat, is it? Anyway, listen, quick one on Hamilton's pit board. Of course, they might be able to sneak something on the pit board to give him a clue, but they're not. I'm looking at it, and it just says the usual thing: gap to Perez ahead, gap to Bottas behind, laps to go, and position P5. I don't know if they've actually got an FIA person looking at the pit board every lap.
I don't think you're allowed to. You're not allowed code
to sneak a code on there, but they should be. I mean, I assume Ron Meadows, the team manager, has already said to ask permission for the FIA for them to tell them. That would have been the first thing he did, to tell Hamilton. That permission must have been refused.
Thank you, Ted. Lap 40, we're watching Sergio Perez, who, I suppose, is Perez quite content to sit where he is at the moment? Is there any incentive, as long as he keeps within 5 seconds of Kimi Raikkonen? Job done, he's on the podium.
Quite a hard job to do, though, isn't it, to judge it? You know, it's one small mistake of a second and a half, get your tyres dirty, and then you lose that in the next lap. So it's more for Kimi. He'll be pushing right to the last minute, absolutely as much as he can, doing everything possible.
Meanwhile, Nico Hülkenberg has Daniel Ricciardo catching him. Now, Hulkenberg stopped once, Ricciardo has stopped twice. Ricciardo on the medium compound tyre and Hulkenberg on the super softs. And this is Red Bull trying to salvage something from Daniel Ricciardo's race at the moment. Something has happened in sector 1 and there's yellow flags being waved, and that is what's happened down at turn 1. That's Pascal Wehrlein, and I'm sure Nico Hulkenberg will be glad to see that. I mean, not that he's got anything against his fellow German, but there'll be yellow flags down there, and Daniel Ricciardo can't do anything to overtake the Force India going into turn 1 on this particular occasion.
I have no brakes anymore. Completely broken brakes.
9 braking events here, Paul. One described as heavy. Is this a track that the teams thought that I wonder would be a struggle with brakes? Either way, he didn't have anything at all there. Pedal went pretty long, gigantic even.
Yeah, I think you can definitely say it's one of the harder ones, like Canada is. It's just the energy, the heat, everything around, and big braking zones. But you know, when you're in a place like Pascal was in that position, you're in traffic, you're in dirty air, you're just going to be on the upper slope of where they work.
Grosjean got past Alonso. Alonso's going to have a go. Grosjean down the inside at turn 2. It's what he wanted to do when Jenson Button got past him. It's what he's managed to do when second race penalty and pick up a podium, because that's what he will be doing at the moment. Ahead of him, Sebastian Vettel is a long way behind Nico Rosberg, and Nico Rosberg, who has never won at a completely new track in his career, is going to love Baku this afternoon, because he needed maximum points. He's on his way.
Okay, Fernando, we can see the problem getting worse. We can see the problem getting worse. We need to box this lap. We need to box this lap.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I cannot downshift for some corners.
Well, he wanted to retire early in Canada, wasn't allowed. And this time, stuck in 4th gear, can't downshift. He will be retiring as Jenson Button down into turn 1 gets past Kevin Magnussen. And to be honest, Paul, that now looks like he had to do that, because Magnussen isn't going to be stopping for a second time. And that's Jenson putting himself on the cusp of the points. He's in 11th place.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense what was going on with Alonso, struggling there, unable to upshift as well. But Renault having a bit of a strong end compared to Honda, and it's very close. If someone gets a penalty, obviously getting P11, you're the first of the guy that gets bumped up after the steward inquiries, which we've still got time for, Crofty.
Ted, down to you.
A confirmation from Mercedes that Hamilton has indeed found the right combination of switches and paddles and buttons and fixed the problem. So they weren't allowed to tell him. It was only something that he could fix, it seems. And he's managed to calm down and actually go through what he needed to and fix the issue. But that's bound to be a big talking point after, Crofty.
Yeah, it will be. To be honest, though, as Fernando Alonso retires, Paul, you're still watching the onboard whilst we see the McLaren getting whirled into the garage. Did we see a warning light come on again on this lap?
I think it's obviously happened again.
Okay, Lewis, you're the fastest car on track. 9 laps remaining.
No, man. Got power all the back.
Well, yeah, between the bleeps there was a message there, but I think that's a lap old, that message.
I think it did clear, let him go, but I think it's very quickly went back into where it was. So obviously something's not working right. It'll be interesting what that last message was, but it just shows you when he was unleashed and got the right mode, quickest car on track, and he has been the quickest guy all weekend apart from qualifying.
Yeah.
Just couldn't quite get it together, so it's just all happening at the wrong point.
So in this race, Danny Kvyat and Carlos Sainz with suspension problems, both out. The two Toro Rossos. Pascal Wehrlein with no brakes retires from a Formula 1 Grand Prix for the first time in his career. Fernando Alonso retires for a 3rd time in 7 starts this year. And out in front, Nico Rosberg, who won in Australia and Bahrain and China and Russia, and who hasn't been on the podium since, is coming to the end of his first Grand Prix in Baku, and it's a Grand Prix that at the moment is yielding him 25 points, maximum points, and just what he needed coming to this track, Paul di Resta. Absolutely,
and just really looking at this battle, Kimi and Perez, I think this is the only battle, the true battle we've got on the track. They're exchanging very close lap times at the moment, and really where it is, but Ricciardo obviously desperately trying to get by as well by the Force India.
This man here, Daniel Ricciardo, the battle for 7th place. Thing is, it's Red Bull power, Renault power, against Mercedes power. But you know, such is the tow, such is the DRS. He gets close.
Just no match, is there? Just cannot quite get there. You just saw the light flashing, so that's the recovery system just charging up at the end of the straight. Oh, and we've got
look at this. This is Max Verstappen on Felipe Massa. Down into turn 1. Verstappen has put himself into 9th place. What was going on with Felipe Massa there? So you've got Max Verstappen gaining on him, and whereas we see Ricciardo can't get close to Hülkenberg down that straight to make a move, well, Verstappen there, same Mercedes power, has the move on Felipe Massa.
Yeah, Hülkenberg stretching these super soft tyres out quite long as well. He's on a tyre that's quite reasonable, but...
is that just down to tyres?
All Ricciardo will be trying to do is just keep the pressure on, keep Hülkenberg, you know, let him keep spinning him up, trying to keep him in front and make a challenge later on, because his tyres will be lasting much better.
Felipe Massa stopped twice in this race. His last pit stop was on lap 28. He put the soft tyres on. Verstappen, on the medium tyre, stopped 8 laps beforehand.
Is the 100 the normal? Is it the same like last race, let's say?
I can't answer, Kimi. I can't answer, I'm sorry.
For sure you can say yes or no.
I can't, Kimi, I can't.
It's this radio ban again. Now, last race it was MG UK, wasn't it, that Kimi Raikkonen was struggling with?
Wonder if it's the temperature issues. You know, Canada was pretty cold. Now we're in the heat. What's going on? But we know that Ferrari have had some reliability issues on that side already this weekend.
Felipe Massa on Kevin Magnussen, whose tyres are screaming, please change me. But it's not going to happen. Big lock-up from Magnussen.
Perez will be rubbing his hands together now if Kimi's got a small problem. He needs to clear that quickly.
Ted, down to you.
Paul, he's not the only one, because I'm just looking straight across to the Force India pit wall, and they are all rubbing their hands together, because Perez has done a brilliant job here, keeping within 5 seconds behind Kimi Raikkonen, which will mean that it's Perez who goes onto the podium with Rosberg and Vettel at the moment, not Kimi Raikkonen. So a great job from Sergio Perez. He's done what he needs to do. Let's not give it the commentator's curse. We've had enough of that for one day with World Motorsport, haven't we? Although we didn't say anything about Ant's race, Crofty, but yeah, let's see what happens.
Not much I can say
no.
About our mates at Le Mans, other than we are pleased for Porsche, obviously, but absolutely gutted for Ant and Sebastian Buemi and Kazuki Nakajima as well. It's horrible for them. 5 laps remaining here. Rosberg leads, and he's the man who's seen his championship lead whittled down, but has rather bounced back here after, well, his teammate dominated practice and made a mess of qualifying, and Rosberg's taken full advantage this afternoon. It's a 3-race streak without a podium, the longest that he's had since 2013, Singapore career in Japan, where he didn't get on the podium there. And, a timely birthday present for him. He's 31 years old, a week on Monday. And ahead of the next race, of course, in Austria. Meanwhile, his fellow German countryman Nico Hülkenberg with some defending to do once again. Ricciardo down in 8th place, gaining, not gaining enough.
I think Ricciardo saving some fuel there at the end. I kind of get the feeling that team managers are going to be discussing this radio ban come the next meeting. If that's both Ferrari and Mercedes, they'll be trying to push something through. Ricciardo just cannot get close enough to even challenge him down onto the brakes in the second DRS zone, and you know, that Force India just too quick in a straight line at the moment.
He's on the Red Bull pit wall, and it's just really frustrating. Even the engine upgrade that came in Canada, not on a par here. I suppose at a track, Paul, you take the downforce off here, don't you? There's not much downforce being run, so does this show up the strengths and weaknesses of the relative engines an awful lot more?
Yeah, I guess it does. You need to carry a little bit of wing, but you know, it can't always be easy. We've saw races in the past where you just don't want to give up position. That's what qualifying's all about, is gaining that track position, being able to stay in front, edging a one-stop strategy versus a two-stop, and that's how Force India have got in front. Now, Ricciardo's not going to be happy again, because that kind of comes into the strategy that they've had to optimise. Their race round has not been good enough, and it's not warranted what his job was in qualifying. But look at the brakes, everything's steaming hot, sitting behind, because he's doing as much as he can to stay in front.
The radio ban that we've seen, you know, Kimi Räikkönen and Lewis Hamilton having an awful lot of harassment going on in the cockpit trying to fix. As we just watch Ricciardo now, it seems a bit closer this time around, to be fair, and he's definitely got a lot more speed. And he goes to the inside now. And has Ricciardo managed to get Hülkenberg? Yes, he has. Locks up a bit. Hülkenberg might try and fight this back with a decent exit going into turn 2, but maybe he was saving a bit of fuel and then attacking Hülkenberg with maximum charge, maximum fuel on that occasion. But now he's got the DRS and he should be able to accelerate away. And that could be clever thinking there by Daniel Ricciardo. He's up into 7th. Can he hold it?
Daniel's last of the light breakers, isn't he? He'll definitely go for a move. We saw that with Seb at Barcelona. He tried everything he could to try and get in front, but that's a nice little move late on in the Grand Prix to be able to do it. Nico not fighting him too hard, but I think he kind of knew it was over.
Well, I wonder if he's not fighting him too hard because he thinks, I can still get you on the last lap here if I just get all my, you know, ducks aligned.
Don't lose too much time, because Nico very quickly could have Verstappen all over the back of him and lose 2 places. So 3 laps to go. I think he should be comfortable enough at that.
Nico Rosberg now has the fastest lap of the race. Pole, led every lap. Might win this race at this rate, and fastest lap. He's on for a 2nd career Grand Slam, I would imagine, as we watch Sergio Perez getting very close to Kimi Räikkönen. Räikkönen with issues, engine issues, and Perez taking advantage of that. And that radio ban, just to go back to that, didn't it come from kind of fans' comments that they didn't want engineers guiding drivers all the time, and they wanted it to be about the drivers? Yeah,
I think it probably was. It was probably too far, wasn't it? I think it was against guys getting information in practice, or you need to brake 3 meters later there. You're kind of engineering the way. I think stuff like that, engine controls, if you're stuck in the wrong mode, you know, just lift it a little bit, give them a little bit of freedom. You got all this technology that Formula 1 comes from. But Perez obviously catching up with Räikkönen. I think Räikkönen's really struggling because Ferrari can't give him the information that he's in the wrong mode, and Perez on road could finish 3rd and definitely take the honours of getting the podium after such a good weekend.
We've got a couple of laps to go here. Sergio Perez, assuming both of these cars finish, Paul, is going to be on the podium, because Kimi Räikkönen gets that 5-second penalty for crossing the white line at the pit entry. But do you just get the feeling here that he'd quite like to take Kimi Räikkönen on the track, not rely on the penalty?
Odd merit, yeah, especially if he's fighting for the drive. There's been some talk, isn't there? So,
well, absolutely.
The big boss of Ferrari here, but I'm sure the big boss is sympathetic for Kimi if he's got some engine issues. And he said he's done a good job this weekend. I'm sure they'd be happy with this performance if he continued this to stay on in the team as well. But
it's a good point. Perez linked with Ferrari for the future. The smart money says he'll probably stay with Force India. But with Sergio Marchionne here, what a timely way to just give a little reminder of your strengths while the big boss is watching. Kimi really uncertain, wasn't he, going into turn 1 there? Yeah,
again, that could be part of all this thing, you know, because it's obviously it could be the electric part of it, and the charge is all done on the brakes. But one thing to pick up on, how many laps Ferrari have managed to do on that soft set of tyres. I think way more than we ever predicted going into the Grand Prix, and Kimi making them work to the optimum range.
Well, the top 6 have all stopped once. Kimi Räikkönen came in on lap 8 to put these soft compound tyres on. And we said it was going to be a battle, didn't we, for 2-stop or 1-stop. Here we have Hülkenberg on a 1-stopper, and we have Verstappen on a 2-stopper behind him. And it seems that Red Bull might just have the 2-stop strategy worked out to get past Hülkenberg here, because Verstappen, like his teammate Ricciardo, has passed Hülkenberg going into turn 1, and Hülkenberg 18 seconds further on up the road. Going to take another podium and another runners-up spot. And Nico Rosberg is on his way to a Grand Prix win for the 19th time in his career. Here comes Sergio Perez on Kimi Räikkönen. Down the inside goes Sergio Perez. No need for a 5-second penalty to be given to Räikkönen to promote Sergio Perez. He's decided, I want to finish in the top 3 on merit on the track.
Yeah, I'm sure they were probably thinking of Canada a few years ago when the closing stage of the Grand Prix, but everything under control. And Kimi doesn't have to fight it either because he knows he has to give the position. So hard to say. You can see Kimi looking. I think he's actually surrendered the position, hasn't he?
He knew the game was up. He wasn't going to finish third anyway, but a nice moment for Sergio Perez nonetheless. And quite a few nice moments here for Nico Rosberg. This is just what the doctor ordered for him today.
Very lonely race, hasn't it, out at the front? You know, he nailed it in qualifying after being beat by Hamilton every session into it, but he's kept his cool. Done exactly what he had to do. Vettel's not really been a threat at any point in the Grand Prix. He's been a lonely second, and yeah, I suppose the battle kind of goes on, and Hamilton's going to have to lift his game come Spielberg, because that qualifying mistakes are very costly.
Well, it was back-to-back victories, wasn't it, for Lewis Hamilton that closed the gap in the championship. Nico Rosberg has not been on the top step of the podium since Sochi. Here we are, 700 miles to the east of Sochi, and it's Nico Rosberg back winning again. Rosberg wins in Baku. The championship leader extends his advantage at the Grand Prix of Europe. An absolutely perfect race for Nico Rosberg. Pole, led every lap, fastest lap, and takes the checker flag first as well. Sebastian Vettel comes home to finish consecutive podium finishes for the first time this season. Sergio Perez picks up the second podium for him in 3 races. He's third for Force India. Kimi Raikkonen settles for fourth for Ferrari. And Force India, after the disappointments of qualifying, they really felt they had a strong car to get on the podium today. They have done just that. Meanwhile, the defending champion, the man who thought he could win today, and engine problems, Hamilton finishes 5th.
Ooh, excellent job, Nico. Excellent job.
Yeehaw! Thanks a lot, guys. Awesome.
There you go. Celebrations for Tony Ross, his race engineer, and for Nico Rosberg. Case of what could have been for his teammate, hampered by problems with the energy recovery system. He comes home 4.5 seconds ahead of Valtteri Bottas for Williams, Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen 7th and 8th for Red Bull, Hülkenberg 9th for Force India. These are really important points for Force India in their battle with Williams in the Constructors' Championship, and Felipe Massa picks up 1 point in 10th place ahead of Jenson Button. The rest behind Button have all been lapped in this race, and we didn't get a safety car. We didn't get drivers colliding with the wall.
Well done, Checo. You did it in style there. Well done.
Thank you so much, guys. So sorry for yesterday. Amazing weekend, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy it. Another podium, guys! Yeah!
Yeah, celebrating, but could have been a second, maybe, for Sergio Perez. It wasn't the race ball that we kind of expected here.
No, I think we expected a bit more action. It was a bit unfortunate. That's why I'm